How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here, and I have Tucker here with me. How's it going, Tucker?
Hey, yo, I am so glad to be here. Every single week, I mark my calendar and say, when am I going to be filming this video with Prashan? Because I like helping you guys out. And I know we together are going to get you guys to Infinite, complete these weekend missions, and get you that Infinity Avatar.
Yeah. But before we go over these decks, we have some cards that recently got nerfed, changed, nuked, done, cooked. And here's one of them, Loki. Or I don't think Loki's done, but what do you think about Loki?
So it is a completely rework to the card. I haven't done any official testing with it, but I think this is like still an auto include into Arishem, but you kind of got to change the Loki decks you were playing before Arishem.
Yeah. I did do a little testing, but I've been playing like a mill Loki. You copy your opponent's stuff, so Quinjet on one, and then I've been playing what Cable on two, and then three I play Loki, and then four I hope that I have Fastos in my hand to get those cards cheaper, and then they're buffed too. And then on five I'll play Sarah, and then six I'll just go full on Blitz and play as much as I can and hope that I can play more than my opponent. So that's how I've been approaching Loki. He's more of like a complementary card and maybe in the mill style of deck, especially if you try to play like cards like Yondu and like Cable, Baron Zemo, Gladiator, and stuff like that. You're just milling their cards away and then playing their cards.
That looks interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way. I think like as an alternate or in like a mill archetype because you stole their cards, they're not going to get those cards back, and then you might also draw those cards again. So it's literally a double slap in the face with Loki. I could be fine.
Yeah, pretty much. The only bad thing about it is discard. So we'll talk about discard in a second, but discard sucks against the deck I made for Loki, especially when I hit like Moon Knight or something. Like it's like, all right, whatever. Like it hits their swarm, and then my Shadow King is gone, and I'm like, crap, I'm done for. But Loki, it's gonna be interesting. I think a lot of people are gonna try to test it out, see if it works, and I think a lot might just ignore this card and trash it. And I think that's what Second Dinner wanted us to do, trash it. But I'm not gonna give up on Loki here. And then the other card we have that just changed that was highly annoying is this guy here, Dr. Octopus. Well, what do you think about the change?
So it's like Dr. Octopus caught a stray because of all the Arishem and the Loki stuff. So it's interesting to see where the mill archetype's going to be at going forward with this. I think it really affects mill the most because you're using this into magic to clog up your opponent's side of the board. And then you have your other tech cards to kind of counter whatever Doc Ock pulls. So it's interesting that it doesn't get shown cheat anymore, but the targeting of it could throw your opponent off. I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to kind of work around this change and the Loki change, which is what I liked with the OTA. Is it just like adds this new kind of life and takes away a lot of the toxicity that was in the game. But we'll see what happens. I haven't really done a lot of testing with Doc Ock, but I'm into it.
All right. So I think this is a buff in a way. Like if you play this with like a clog deck, you like play Korg on one, like Rock Slide maybe on three, or you're playing Debris on three, and then you're using Dr. Octopus to pull one of those rocks that they've like have in their hand.
Okay, I see what you're saying there.
You just clog away and just do what you have to do. And he doesn't get Shang-Chi'd anymore. No
That's
more
true.
Shang. No more luck with Dr. Octopus pulling the Shang. Like it's no longer a meme or a rule of Snap anymore, right? So they basically changed that. But I'll try them out in Clog. I think it's okay. Like the stats are okay, but the bad side is like you don't know what you'll pull this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just another casualty of war because of Arishem, and everyone went crazy with Arishem. So RIP to Dr. Octopus. And then we have another card that was like nerfed, changed, and it's this guy here. Good old Leech. Now he removes the text from 6 cost cards in your opponent's hand. So how do you feel about this change?
Good riddance. I'm glad this card got absolutely obliterated into the ground. Leech was just such a great, like, just dominant card. Now being able to play it on 4, yes, okay, it hits my 6 cost card. Do I always have a 6 cost card in my hand? No. Am I always running a 6 cost card? No. But I'm glad it's more targeted that way. It altering your entire combo for the rest of the game is just a feels bad, extremely toxic moment. I bet they change it back at some point. But it's just, I'm glad this card's dead.
Yeah, I don't know. This card's died and been resurrected so many times. I remember the Leech leader days back in the day. Yeah, it definitely messes up my old like decks. Like I would play Blink and then I would hope that like I get like Leech after I played Blink. Like I would play like Jubilee and then play Blink and then Blink will blink the Jubilee out for Leech. But yeah, I miss it. Pour one out for Leech. I think the change is needed. I think Marvel Snap wants players to be able to play their cards, be able to play their combos, and this basically killed a bunch of decks. Like especially one we're gonna be talking about later. Surfer, you just played Leech on 5, and then you know they had like Surfer Killmonger as their finisher, or like Surfer Absorbing Man as their finisher, and it just kills it. So good change. Bravo, second dinner to finally listen, right?
Yep.
I think this is the OTA that everyone's been waiting for. I think Loki has been on the list like every single week since its inception into Snap. Like so many other changes happened, Collector and all that. But yeah, so enough of that. Let's talk about some of these top decks this week in Marvel Snap. So let's go right into it. Sandy Ultron, 40-something K views on Twitter and climbing. I feel like I'm a part of the problem. I feel like you're a part of the problem too, Tucker.
This list is like the cool thing about this list is if you guys are in an alliance right now, there's a Brood Doctor Doom mission going around everywhere, and this literally helps you complete that. The Leech change would be the only thing to really just counter this list because it would hit Doom and Ultron, but like people aren't playing it for that, of course. But it's just Patriot value. You're setting up Patriot and you're setting up your Dazzler before you play the Sandman down. So like keep that in mind. If you're having trouble with this list, make sure you set up your combo before the Sandman. Or if you don't have your combo, just don't play Sandman, set up your other lines. Sandman is not a have to play every single game. It's if it's your primary win con because you have everything else set up, play Sandman. That's what I would say for my advice with this list.
Yeah, I would say like my time playing it, I think I was hovering around an 80% win rate, so or 70%. So to see it at like 58.6 is sort of sad. So it's like, all right, is it human error or is everyone catching on to what is going on with this deck? I think like a huge thing too is like Cassandra Absorbing Man. You got to take advantage of that as well. That combo is there, and then sometimes you got to take those chances with Iron Lad. There's times where I had like a 1 in 3 chance to pull Ultron on the final turn, and I'm like, screw it. Like, let's do it. Let's play Iron Lad. And sometimes it's worked out. And you have to remember, too, you can always play Jeff Absorbing Man or Jeff or Iron Lad or Jeff Patriot, Jeff Brood final turn, and they'll definitely go, especially with Sandman. So, yeah, definitely good deck. Sandman is back. But Sandman always rears his head up in the meta when the meta is just, like, simple. Like when the meta cools down, Sandman comes back up. I remember Enturo had a Sandman, Galactus deck that was running around.
Sandman Hella.
What was it?
Sandman and Hella.
Oh yeah, Sandman Hella. That's what happened. Sandman Hella, that was running around the same time. End of the season, the meta cooled off, and then all of a sudden, Sandman.
And like the other thing too is like hitting Ultron early is actually not an issue in this list specifically because you have a way to buff all your Ultron cards. And if you even hit an Ultron early into a Sandman, there's also a good chance your opponent can't spread their power the same way you've done with the Ultron. To be able to, you can do like a Blue Marvel after you've potentially hit an Ultron to a Sandman kind of thing. Like it feels good actually.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happened where I hit Iron Lad on 6. The opponent played Limbo. Iron Lad hit Ultron, filled up all my lanes, and then like I couldn't play anything on turn 7. I still won. Like,
It's so much power unless they have Killmonger, which
oh yeah,
is
for
sad,
sure.
but
But you don't like, to be honest, you really don't have to worry about those
no.
destroy players because they typically play Killmonger whenever it's in their hand. So don't worry about it.
Literally just throw it on the board.
Yeah, Killmonger on 3.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go into this next deck here. High Evo with a 60.3% win rate. High Evo has not gone anywhere. I think I got beat the other day by a High Evo deck that had She-Hulk, Limbo, She-Hulk, Magic, and Infinite. So I was like, where? Like, this is an old school High Evo deck. Why is it coming back? But High Evo is solid. That means the meta is very good right now. If this is rearing its head out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's like the main issue I was running into, like, as I play a lot of high evo, was like the pocket legions people had in Arishem and Nocturne stuff. But like I think playing around that really has been helpful. I've been playing a lot of chases list too with the Moon Girl interaction with A Bomb and She-Hulk 2. So you're just slamming power down later on. So like you're not running any other really tech cards to protect your lower cost or your high end besides armor. So as long as you're like ducking priority, you also have your enchanters for all the tribunal that's everywhere right now too, and you got a Shang-Chi because no one's expecting Shang-Chi in High Evo right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a good point. And then if you want to go higher, I would say like replace Shocker, take out Enchantress, put in Infinite, She-Hulk,
Yep.
and then put in Magic too.
Yeah.
I think Magic
Take out
will.
Scorpion.
What was that?
Take out Scorpion potentially for Magic or
Yeah, and yeah,
yeah.
you're fine. You'll get wins. So High
Buff the
Evo
thing.
has came back, and then next some Darkhawk Surfer. Everyone's putting Darkhawk in everything because of Arishem, but Arishem has died off. So we'll see how last this like anti or second meta, because usually like you have your main meta with Arishem and then you have your counter meta with Darkhawk. But we'll see how long Darkhawk lasts. And then Surfer's pretty good. It survives during this like Leech change, so you could do your final turn. And then Juggernaut's pretty good. So what do you think about this deck here, Tucker?
Yeah, like this right here is you Gwenpool, and you pretty much win. I think you've so many cards to buff up what you're doing. You can do Gwenpool into an Absorbing Man to get that buff again on your cards. And if you're just winning a location, you can play Juggernaut on the final turn to move those cards off the location, and just win that location outright. And then if you're throwing rocks and stuff into their deck, that's changing the shuffle of their cards, which helps also if you're doing some mill stuff too, or if you're just doing Darkhawk things, allows you to have more Cassandra Nova value. It's just an all-around good list. It's good to see Sarah back. I feel like when Sarah's back in the meta, it means we're going to be seeing some more Sarah control as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then Juggernaut just came out of nowhere as a good card compared to Cannonball. So Cannonball has been pushed to the wayside, and then Juggernaut has made his way in, which is pretty cool to see. And then next here we have Junk. Good old Junk. I suck with Junk personally. I do not know when to flip or not to flip Titania. So typically I always take Titania out of my list because I feel like she loses me games more than she wins me games. And then even with the White Widow change, I think this is still pretty good. I think the point of White Widow is to clog their lane, not really for the negative power. So yeah, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think the MVP of this list is still Viper. I think Viper is just so good after the change from I think it was the OTA a couple weeks ago. And actually like having Ajax in this too. Like you play Ajax on your final turn after your opponent has played all their stuff out and you hazmat. So like Ajax is a good card. I think we kind of were like so hype on it and stuff, or maybe not so hype on it, but it's like we were playing it in the wrong list. We're trying just to play high Evo with Ajax. When at the end of the day, you only need like Hazmat to make Ajax good. You don't have to like truly build a deck around it. So it's like an alternate win con here. And then like the Doc Ock, like you were talking about earlier, if you're just clogging an opponent out of their location, that's just Doc Ock's value there, even though it's just pulling one card. And if you pull a Shang-Chi, Doc Ock doesn't die anymore. So it can work really well in this list. Protect your Red Hulk, protect your Ajax. I like it.
Yeah, very good list. Good clog list. I think Ajax it's a good complementary card. Like you don't have to build a deck around him. You just play him. Like
Hmm.
just play him naturally. I think that's what was happening with Ajax before. It's like, oh, I want to do this huge setup to get my Ajax to like 50, but you don't need to do that. He's already at 7, and he's
Yeah.
solid. And you just play Hazmat and Ajax final turn, especially if you have Magic. You're good. And then next here we have another Surfer deck, another one.
Yep.
Uh, this one, yeah, another Gwen Surfer, still low to the ground. No Sarah because we have Hope here. Makari, I think she has a lot of value lately, especially like in a Sandman deck too. Those control decks where you play Sandman, Makari has tons of value. But in the Surfer deck, pretty good. I think overall, Sebastian gets the value from Gwenpool. Obviously, he gets it from Surfer, Forge, Nova. But yeah, what do you think about this one?
Surfer is about to be everywhere once again because Leech has been changed, and Leech does not hit a single card in this list. So
No.
if you guys were not a fan of Surfer and didn't want to see any Surfer, I'm sorry. You're going to be seeing a lot more Surfer. Surfer's really going to be taking over the meta because all of like the 3 drops in this list are also tech cards. So you have different ways to alter what your opponent's trying to play. I wouldn't be surprised if we do add another 3 costs to this list. But like backing off like what Prashant said too, like Makari, you don't have to play this card. And if it gets a stray from like Gwenpool or anything too, and it's a 3/6 just playing itself on the board, your downside is it maybe would play on Bar with no name or something, or maybe it clogs you. But like this list is so good. It has so many different ins and outs depending on what matchup you're running into. Hope Summers, also in spotlights this week, is a really solid card to have in your collection, and you're hitting it on the Gwenpool and stuff, so you don't have to use Sarah. It just feels so good all around. It's gonna be a Surfer meta, and maybe when when Kate Bishop comes out next week, there'll be a little bit less Surfer because people are trying her out. But Marvel Boy's also gonna be out too, so
Oh
we'll see what
yeah,
happens.
true. I think threes are like the best, like
Yep.
all around cards in Snap. Like the fact that you could play 2 on the final turn is insane too. So yeah, definitely good list. Surfer is here to stay. I think Surfer's always been around. It's just that like the Leech thing has backed it off, but open the floodgates for sure. And next we have Thena. Thena has not gone anywhere. Still 56.7 win percentage. You have your typical combo here: K Pride, Thena, Angela, Jeff, and then of course you have Mockingbird. I think the Mockingbird change was actually a buff because I play against people that play Kyera, and you can't do anything about that Mockingbird. I'm like, holy crap! Like this is a buff. Like why did they do this? But yeah, I think this is a decent deck. What do you think, Tuck?
I think like probably we haven't talked about a lot in this video, but like the Gwenpool value you can get in so many different lists now is in numerous. Like hitting pretty much any of these cards is so good. Yes, maybe this isn't the best against Sandman, and Sandman's ramping up, but like if you play everything out before turn 6, you're doing yourself a favor. And I feel like just being able to play 2 cards for Thena to get that extra 3 power is really solid as well. Even if you do get hit with a Sandman, if you hold your Jeff in your hand because you know your opponent has a Sandman, it allows you to still get the Thena buff. This list caught 0 strays in the OTA at all, even though it's been performing really, really well, and Thena's just in a good spot because of the conditions. So, like, this list just feels just really, really good, and I think there's nothing really too OP about this list at all. You don't guarantee all the time what Gwenpool's going to hit. Like you said, Mockingbird did get a buff, but like you still have to have tokens on the board for Mockingbird. You still have to play an amount of cards for Sasquatch. It just feels like an all-around great list, and you have tech options with Nocturne and Shang-Chi to help you go over the top. It's just a power-heavy meta right now, so just that's why Shang-Chi has over a 55% usage right now. But it feels good, and I think it's a safe list. It's not too OP. You just really have to like think around what you're doing.
Yeah, like you were saying too, I was thinking too that hold your Jeff if you think Sandman is coming. Especially after you play Mysterio, you could play Sasquatch and Jeff and just crazy power. Just make sure you don't play in the Thena lane. That way Thena has power too, or maybe you can, just depending on the board state. Or overall, pretty decent deck. This isn't going anywhere. Like Mobius stops those like deaths that come from the destroy. You don't really see that much Mr. Negative anymore either, but Mobius stops that. So overall, pretty decent deck here. And then lastly, we have Arishem. Arishem 58.2. I'm pretty sure this might change after the OTA, but this is still a pretty decent deck.
Yeah, and it's like Loki has a complete home in Arishem. So like Loki's new change is you swap out your entire Arishem deck and you get your opponent's deck. You also draw one of their cards. They cost one less, and you also now have extra energy with Arishem. If you've hit a great hand and everything too, it just feels awesome. So like, yes, the Darkhawk value also goes down just a little bit because I mean, you don't have 20 cards in your deck, you have 12 instead. But like, I think it just feels good, and it's going to be interesting to see what people do with Loki going forward. But like, you have all these different options. Of course, if you don't draw Loki, Blob is still really good, and then you have Eliath to save yourself and Mockingbird and stuff. But like, I don't think this archetype's going away anytime soon. I'm glad they've started to tweak it and didn't let just run rampant for a long time like they did with Loki. But of course, this is a day after the OTA. The meta could totally reset this weekend. But if these lists we've said so far feel like they're going to be able to stay throughout, this may be the one from the video that might just readjust mostly.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then I guess we'll see whenever the new season starts what actually pops up in the meta or what people are climbing with the quickest. I feel like this is one of the decks like everyone was using just to get infinite as quick as possible because it was so easy to play, so simple to play. But it is going to be interesting to see what changes happen to these Arishem decks, what Loki decks emerge out of nowhere. I'm hoping I cracked the code a little bit. I'm pretty sure I just need to do some more tweaking with it, and it'll get there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Pretty, I don't know. I wouldn't say tame. I think it shook the Marvel Snap landscape for sure. Like the OTA, I have no problem with the OTA. They really addressed what they really need to address. Finally, right? So, what you have anything else this week, Tuck?
I'm hoping that these weekend missions aren't too bad. And I think because there's new cards, I'm hoping they're fun weekend missions and they're not just super sweaty weekend missions.
Yeah.
And then good luck with all the alliances.
With the missions too, or bounties and alliances, I think it's opened up the meta too because you're forced to play decks that you really don't want to play. Like I really don't like the move bounties. Those are horrible. They should really get rid of those. But I'm pretty sure there's been tons of destroy because like everyone thinks the destroy missions are easy. So yeah. How's your alliance going? Don't you have like 10 of them?
I have 3 alliances, and we're all doing really well. I think we're on, and at least 2 of them, we're on the last mission as a group. I think we have over like 90,000 points right now. So like we're doing really solid.
I finished mine. We finished ours.
Let's go. Let's freaking go. You guys are killing it.
Yeah. So that is it for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, all that good stuff. I'll put the links this weekend for all the decks for you guys, all you net deckers out there. Till next time, be safe, keep on snapping, and peace.
Snap.